Yeah, we back. Now today's going to be a very important video. I'm going to be talking directly to a man that I respect. I'm going to be talking directly to President General ASSIMI GOITA, Chef de l'État, Général d'Armée. I'm going to be talking directly to the big homie, and hopefully this video can reach him. I know that a lot of high-ranking individuals, a lot of important individuals from the AES follow my channel. So if you are listening to this video, please forward it. Send it over, text him the video, email him the video so he can listen to this. And I think it's important for him to listen to. And I say this with all love and respect. Now, today's video is going to be in regards to elections, so-called democratic elections, free and fair elections happening in the AES. I just want to start off by saying I am 100% against it. I don't believe right now is the time for elections when a country is at war, because keep in mind, yes, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are at war. And I'm not talking about just a propaganda war or the economic war. I'm talking about real life war. We have insurgents, we have terrorists being sponsored by foreign countries that are currently wreaking havoc on the national territory. So right now is not the time for free and fair elections when a country is literally at war. I just want to start off by saying that so I make my position clear. Now, what was my inspiration behind making this video? So recently I seen a headline from the French state-owned media, RFI, and it said this, take a look up on the screen. A dozen political parties in Mali call for the organization of elections. Now, obviously the French media calling for democratic elections, but also these so-called dozen political parties who, by the way, have never even received even 1% of the national vote, right? So you got a bunch of irrelevant career politicians, right, whose only avenue in life is to be a politician and embezzle the money from the state coffers, right? They sitting outside, they're not able to have access to the state coffers like they used to, like they want to, so they sitting outside. They want to transition back to democracy. And of course the French media, of course the Western media is more than happy to broadcast their grievances. So when it comes to me, yes, I am against elections during wartime. I don't think it makes logical sense to organize elections during a time of war. Right. And I find it hypocritical because I don't see the French media or the Western media calling for elections in Ukraine. Right. Ukraine was supposed to have elections last year or 2 years ago. Right. But they called it off. Why? Because it's a time of war. You can't organize elections when the Russian military is invading and bombarding the country. So in the case of the AES, when it comes to Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, why would it be any different? When you have all these terrorists, these jihadists that are sponsored by foreign actors and foreign governments that are wreaking havoc on the national territory, why would it make logical sense to be calling for elections during a time of war? Now, another reason why I decided to make this video is I seen this posted by the U.S. Embassy in Mali. They said this: the U.S. Embassy invests 12 million CFA francs to train 150 journalists and civil actors. This initiative fights against disinformation, strengthens election coverage, and promotes a climate of peace. Now, 12 million CFA francs, that's not really a whole lot of money, but still, nothing is charity in this life. Nothing is charity in this world. So if somebody invests any money in anything, it's because they want to get something of greater value in return, especially when it comes to topics such as international politics. So when you see things like, oh, the United States wants to train your journalists, we want to invest in your journalists, right? What are they training your journalists to do, right? They're training your journalists to promote certain narratives that are in line with United States foreign policy objectives. Also, those same journalists who they trained are going to be promoting the platform of certain candidates that are also in line with United States and Western foreign policy objectives. And not only that, but they're also going to be undermining candidates who are not in line with United States and Western foreign policy objectives. Also, those same journalists who they train can also serve as intelligence agents, feeding back information about the local dynamics inside the country. So on the surface, while it seems like charity, because that's how they always do it, right? Everything they do, they make it seem like we're doing charity. We're doing this for the greater good of humanity. But in reality, no. It's just like when they talk about giving out foreign aid, right? We're giving out so much foreign aid like it's charity. No, that is basically bribe money to influence the internal politics of the country. Or when they talk about giving away food, right? Oh, we give away so much aid in food. No, the reality is you destroyed the local markets because you undercutted the local farmers because you wanted to have access to sell your goods in their market. You wanted to export your agriculture from your country, and in the process, you destroyed the local economy. So now, as a consequence, you have to give food aid as a bandage to the damage you already did. But they make it seem like we're doing charity for humanity. When in reality, the people have the capacity and capability to feed themselves. But if they were acting upon that self-sufficiency and shut you out the market, then you would have no place to export your products, to export your goods. even though your product is really inferior compared to the local organic agriculture. But because you wanted to capture the market, now you have shut out the local farmer, and now people are starving, and now there is hunger in the region because you wanted to undercut the local economy. But of course, as per usual, they always decorate their own personal ambitions as if they're doing charity for humanity. Everything they do is for their own personal gain, but they always make it seem like this is for the greater good of humanity. Please. Now, let's take a look at some of the reactions on social media. This brother said, "It is disgraceful that things like this are still allowed to happen in the AES. This would be like the Chinese embassy in DC announcing that it is spending money to train American journalists. It would never be allowed to happen. Does ASSIMI Goita's government realize what is at stake here? Why are they allowing hostile foreign actors to interfere in Malian politics?" Now, I will say, with Trump in office, one benefit is that if he's a man of his word, then he's going to be focusing on his own affairs. I recently heard that they cut all foreign aid around the world for like at least 3 months. I have to verify that, but I heard that foreign aid has been cut and is being reassessed, which is good to me because, like I said, I've always looked at foreign aid as nothing but bribe money to influence the internal politics of foreign countries. And most of that money ends up right back in the Western economy because the same corrupt so-called democratic leaders they support are simply going to recycle that money back into their Western bank accounts anyway. So it's going to make it right back cycle into the Western economy anyway, like it never left. And on top of that, when this so-called foreign aid is sent out to foreign countries, it comes with conditions and stipulations and things you have to do in order to get the money, right? Like you have to, for example, you have to spend the money with American companies, right? So we give you this X amount of money, X amount of dollars, and you have to go and spend the money with us, right? You have to give the money back to us. Or it might come with other conditions, like you have to open up your markets to foreign investors, right? You have to, so basically you have to undercut your local economy in order to get this money, right? You have to destroy yourself in order to get this money. So it's like they make it seem like they're doing charity for humanity, when in reality, you're simply defending and consolidating your own personal interests and your own personal ambitions. Now, let's continue. This person said, "Foreign aid to help train people in governance and journalism, blah, 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 blah. It's all PsyOps 101. They give the nation the bare minimum and extract billions monthly, like slavery, gave mirrors, rum, and syphilis, and took millions of humans, plants, minerals, and indigenous treasures." Amen. This person said, "This is a wrong move. They've done these same tricks here in Kenya, and now they control our media houses and our parliament. Stop them before it's too late, my general." This person said, "I understand your concerns, but we have strong and vigilant leaders. We must trust them. They know what they are doing. When Niger kicked out France in 2023, many complaints were about why the Americans were not asked to leave until Niger gave them their expulsion orders last summer. They know what they are doing." This person said, "I also want to add that even when Mali holds elections, ASSIMI Goita is still going to play a critical role in the development of the AES because we should not forget that he is the president of the alliance. He doesn't even need to be the president of the country to play a huge role." Now, I disagree. ASSIMI Goita must absolutely be the president. We cannot allow some Western stooge in the president seat and think that's not going to interfere with the development and progress of the AES. Now, like I said before, a nation that is at war, there is no time to be holding elections. You have to question the motives of anybody, especially any politicians in the country that's clamoring, for holding elections instead of actually getting the country, back on track and continuing to build upon the gains that we have made. And like I said before, if ASSIMI Goita, if he was willing to play ball, if he was willing to follow their doctrine, then you wouldn't hear any cause for democracy, right? Because like I said before, when it comes to the president of Ukraine, you don't hear any cause for democracy. When it comes to Vladimir Zelensky, ain't no cause for democracy. When it comes to the family down in Saudi Arabia, ain't no cause for democracy, right? When you look at guys like Paul Biya, who's been in power 40 years, right? Ain't no cause for democracy. In fact, I heard that he's about to run again, right? When it comes to, I don't want to talk about this guy because the channel might get destroyed, but I'm going to say it anyway. Benjamin Netanyahu, right? He been in power like 17 years, going on 20 years, right? I don't see anybody talking about, man, you got to get out the seat. It's time to get out the seat. Give it to some fresh blood. Let somebody else be the prime minister. I don't see none of that. And when you compare these gentlemen that I just named to ASSIMI Goita just got here yesterday. He just got here. So what are you talking about? He got to leave. He just got here yesterday. And I would say one of the biggest weaknesses of the black man, above all, is a lack of political continuity. And what is political continuity? Political continuity is when the policies and the goals and the projects of a government, they remain the same, even if the leadership changes. Even if the political party changes, the same policies, the same goals, and the same projects are being pursued by various different leaders over a long period of time, right? There's a continuity there. There's no, stop and start. No, it's a straight line. We started the project. We pursued the project until it's completion, until it's finished, right? And in order for that to happen, you need political continuity. And when you are talking about gathering elections or organizing elections, then the danger for us is that what if the next guy coming around reverses everything we've done, reverses all the progress we made, reverses all the decisions we made, and locks right back into the old contracts, locks right back into the old relationships. That's the danger of what happens when there's a lack of political continuity. That's why you should be on high alert for anybody calling for elections in the AES, right? As if economic development or military development should not be the number one objective. Anybody who thinks elections are the number one objective, you have an ulterior motive. You have a foreign sponsor. You have personal ambitions you are trying to satisfy. But anyways, like I said, back to the topic of political continuity, right? Like I said, that's been one of the black man's biggest weaknesses. When you look at our adversaries, they don't have this problem to the same level or capacity, right? When you look at the Democrats and the Republicans, they might seem like arch rivals, arch nemesis. But if there's a good policy on the books that benefits the nation overall, if a Republican comes into office, he's going to leave it on the books, right? Same thing with the Democrats. If a Democrat comes into office and there's a good policy that came from the other side, but it benefits us all, they're going to leave it on the books. They're not going to reverse it and, break the political continuity. But when it comes to the black man, it's totally different, right? You could be the greatest leader of all time, but the next guy coming after you might literally reverse everything that you did. And when we look back at history as black men, there have been countless examples of black men who took certain steps to secure the nation's sovereignty and prosperity, only for the next guy to literally destroy everything, right? One of the most powerful examples of this, and I've done extensive videos on this topic on my channel, is the example of King Henry Christophe, the king of Haiti. Now, if you look up on the screen to the left, you got Christophe to the left, billion-dollar black man back in the early 1800s, 6'9", tall as hell, fresh as hell. Got the military boots, got the military coat. I got my cane and my hat and my gold crown. And man, Christophe doing his thing back in the year 1816. To the right, you got President Jean-Pierre Boyer, the guy that came after him, after he died. Now, like I said, go to my playlist section. I have endless amounts of videos on Christophe's life. In fact, I did a whole series in a playlist called The Biography of King Henry Christophe. So go check that out, man, if you want to learn about the life and the journey and the legacy of the king, man. Long live Christophe. Now, during the reign of Christophe, Christophe was in power. He was the general of the North, stretching all the way back to, 1801 or 1802, when Toussaint Louverture appointed him as general of the North. And he was like 35 years old at the time. He was in his mid-30s, and Toussaint Louverture appointed him as the general of the entire North. So basically, at that time, he was the same age as IBRAHIM TRAORE is right now. Christophe was one of Toussaint Louverture's proteges. That was one of his students. Now, of course, the country became independent in 1804. Dessalines rose to power. Dessalines, unfortunately, he was assassinated in 1806. But even though Dessalines died, that did not break the political continuity. Christophe picked up right where Dessalines left off. The same projects, the same everything. And Dessalines had picked up right where Toussaint Louverture had left off, right? So the same foundation, the same style of governance, the same foundation and the building blocks left by Toussaint Louverture was picked up by Dessalines. When Dessalines died, Christophe kept it moving, right? So the political continuity never stopped. Even though Toussaint Louverture died in jail, even though Dessalines was assassinated, the political continuity was still ongoing with Christophe at the head. Now, when Dessalines died, the country was split into two governments, with Christophe controlling the north. Take a look up on the screen. Christophe controlled the Northern Kingdom of Haiti, and the Southern Republic of Haiti was controlled by mainly the mixed race biracial half-white Haitians who were the sons of the colonists. Take a look up on the screen. The gentleman all the way to the right went by the name of General Alexander Pétion. He controlled the South after Dessalines died, and Christophe controlled the North. Christophe is in the middle, and obviously to the left, all the way to the left, is Dessalines. Rest in peace to Dessalines. But essentially from 1806 to about 1818, Christophe in the middle controlled the North, and Alexander Pétion to the right controlled the South. Now, under the regime of Christophe, Haiti reached a level of prosperity, power, and security that it has never been able to replicate since the death of the king. And it's been damn near over 200 years. And I want President ASSIMI GOITA to listen to me carefully, because you got to be vigilant and make sure that everything you are building right now doesn't immediately be destroyed upon your departure. Now, back to Christophe. Now, I know the standard narrative is that after independence, Haiti was, under embargo and nobody wanted to trade and spend money. But at the end of the day, no. Haiti remained a hub of global commerce because it had control over the world's most lucrative crops at the time, sugar and coffee, right? So it was the most lucrative economy, and the black man inherited the most lucrative economy at the time. So no, you mean to tell me that everybody stopped buying sugar and coffee because the black man took power? No, that's a lie. No, there's a lot of unofficial trade, a lot of trade under the table, off the books that was still going down. How do you think Christophe was able to finance his military adventures? How do you think he was able to finance his monumental building projects like the Citadel? Take a look up on the screen, right? A military fortress on a mountain 3,000 feet up in the damn sky, armed with over 300 cannons, with the walls 16 feet thick and over 130 feet high, capable of housing a garrison of over 5,000 soldiers with enough food and supplies for over a year. So obviously, even though there might not have been official trade documented on the books, yes, there was still undocumented trade happening. People were still coming and buying that sugar and coffee. And not only that, but Christophe was also engaged in extensive trade with the other colonies, right? The other Caribbean islands who were still under colonization at the time, but there was still trade and going back and forth going on there too. So Christophe gathered a lot of money in a very short period of time simply because he had damn near a monopoly over the supply of sugar and coffee. And it was from those resources that he gathered, that's how he was able to build up his military, build up his navy. Like we talked about before, many videos on my channel, we talk about how Christophe went into the ocean and rescued enslaved Africans off them European slave vessels. If you watch my series that I did on his life, the biography of King Henry Christophe, we spoke about the schools that he built, the medical system he established, the infrastructure he established, right? There were many at the time who testified to the fact that what Christophe had established could rival anything established by any European monarch at the time. Like I said, under Christophe's leadership, Haiti had reached the height of its military power, the height of its economic strength, and the height of its international prestige and reputation. Take a look up on the screen. However much the Haitians disliked the rigid discipline imposed upon them and resented their loss of personal liberty, the will of their unrelenting king prevailed, and under his guiding hand, the country prospered. Produce of every kind poured in from the plantations, a small navy patrolled the coast, and a profitable commerce was developed with the other nations. The state coffers were filled to overflowing. The annual revenue amounting to $3.5 million, the nobility and landowners became wealthy, and want and hunger disappeared. The rural laborers enjoying 1/4 of the crops, the schools flourished, a printing press established at Sanssouci, and a theater was built near Cap Henri. Indeed, in prosperity and in grandeur, the Kingdom of Haiti was beginning to rival the old colony of Saint-Domingue. In Pétion's territory, on the other hand, the public treasury was empty. Although the inhabitants had their heart's content of freedom and were spared the forced labor of Christophe's subjects, there was a complete neglect of the public welfare. Soldiers and the population were ragged. Petty theft and crime increased enormously. The plantations were untilled. Now, in that passage, it basically compares the life of the Haitians in the north under the kingdom in Christophe's territory and the life of the Haitians in the south. And as you can see, it was two completely different realities, right? They said in the north, the schools were flourishing, the state coffers were filled to overflowing, the commerce was profitable, a navy was patrolling the coast, we had a Citadel 3,000 feet in the sky. Like, you know what I'm saying? The Haitians in the north was doing it big. Meanwhile, the Haitians in the south, right? They said the plantations were neglected, the state coffers were empty. The state coffers was empty. There was no economy. There was no work being done. It was just petty theft and crime. Like you see, it was completely different realities. The Haitians in the north under Christophe and the Haitians in the south who were not under Christophe. Now, the president of the south, General Alexander Pétion, he died in 1818, and his protege came to power. His protege went by the name of Jean-Pierre Boyer, the man on the right, like we mentioned before. Now, during Christophe's time in power, the French had attempted multiple times to open negotiations with him, tried to, reconquer him, but all efforts failed. I did several videos on this topic, but if you remember back in 1814, when the French had sent a delegation over to negotiate with Christophe to see if he would be willing to pay reparations, essentially, right? Be willing to pay a reparations debt to the French for the loss of their property. And for those of y'all that watch those videos, then you already know Christophe stood tall in the face of the adversary. He had them arrested. He had them executed after they tried to open negotiations to the terms of recolonization. No, Christophe said, listen, you're under arrest. And matter of fact, not only are you under arrest, but you are dead. So yeah, take a look up on the screen. Haiti did not agree to pay an indemnity to France in 1825 because it feared a war with the former colonial power. In 1814, France sent envoys to Haiti to demand that King Henry Christophe, who controlled the north of Haiti, and President Alexander Pétion, who controlled the south and the west, to resubmit to French sovereignty. Christophe had the envoy arrested and jailed. Pétion, on the other hand, offered to pay an indemnity to France to compensate the former colonial property owners in return for France's recognition of Haiti's independence. Jean-Pierre Boyer succeeded Pétion as president of the Republic in 1818 and the whole of Haiti in 1820 after Christophe's death by suicide. As had Pétion done before him, Boyer consistently opposed all attempts by France to reimpose its sovereignty over Haiti. But in 1824, he offered to pay an indemnity to France to compensate the former colonial property owners for the same reason his predecessor did in 1814. France finally did so in 1825. Now, I've covered the true history behind the so-called independence debt many times on my channel, but yeah, that's really how it went down. Don't believe the hype, right? Don't believe the hype, right? They don't talk about how when the French sent their delegation back in 1814, the black man had you murdered, right? The black man killed your ass. They don't talk about that. But the reason why the French was able to come to that agreement in 1825, over 20 years after independence, was, like I said before, it was because Jean-Pierre Boyer, the half-white son of a colonist, the half-white son of a Frenchman, was in power, right? Their half-white son was in power, right? Their half-white cousin was in power. And just like his predecessor, General Alexander Pétion, who was also the half-white son of a colonist, they were more than happy to compensate their fathers for the loss of their property. So that's why you never hear me say things like Haiti was forced to pay France, because Haiti was not forced to pay France. France simply waited and waited and waited until there was a regime in place that was friendly and cooperative to play ball and get down with their economic interests. That's all it was, right? They tried to work with Toussaint Louverture back in the 1790s, back in 1801, but as you already know, Toussaint Louverture ended up declaring war against the French and he ended up dying in prison. And when it came to Dessalines, they didn't even try to open negotiations with Dessalines because Dessalines, they already knew what time it was with Dessalines. Take a look up on the screen. The fear of another French invasion was an obsession with Dessalines, as it was with most of his countrymen, for the atrocities of Leclerc and Rochambeau were never to be forgotten. A scheme for repelling any new attack was therefore designed. Since experience had proved that the coastal towns could not be held against the guns of an attacking fleet, they were to be burned and abandoned. The population, meanwhile, was to retire to the hinterlands. Resistance was to be concentrated in the interior, where the Negroes could take advantage of the rugged terrain and the jungles to harass and eliminate the enemy, and Dessalines ordered the construction of a series of fortresses designed to withstand sustained attacks by superior forces. Now, going back to what I said about political continuity. So even though Dessalines died in 1806, even though he was assassinated in 1806, that same project that he built, because he was the mastermind behind the citadel and the various fortresses around the country, that was Dessalines' brainchild. That was his idea. But even after he died, Christophe kept it going. The political continuity was never broken even after he died. And that's why I talk about the importance of political continuity. But when Christophe died, the political continuity was broken. When the half-white mulatto bastards came to power, the political continuity was broken. When Christophe died, he left behind a well-trained military. He left vast, immense stockpiles of ammunition and gunpowder. He left a treasury worth over $1 billion in modern currency without a single dollar of debt in the treasury. He left behind the citadel. He left behind the fortresses. He left behind everything that you would need to defend yourself against any hostile threat. The nation under Christophe was self-sufficient. We ate the food that we grew, right? Not only did we produce enough to engage in international trade and commerce and sell on the international markets undercover, but we also had enough to actually feed our own population to where we didn't have to import anything from overseas. And on top of that, it's not like they would sell it to us anyway, but still, so we had no choice. But we had enough to feed ourselves and protect ourselves. So Jean-Pierre Boyer, I give him no excuse for breaking the political continuity and ending up bowing down to the Europeans, ending up paying his white father the goddamn money. I don't give him no excuse. I don't say he was forced. You were not forced to do it. You were a coward, you were a bitch, and you decided to pay off your family members. That's what it was. Because when they came to Christophe, Christophe killed them and declared war, and they never came. Christophe called they bluff, said, "Oh, word, nigga, I'ma kill you," and they never came. They never came. Christophe killed the French ambassador in 1814, and he stayed in power for another 6 years. They didn't touch a hair on his chinny chin chin. They didn't touch a single hair on his head for 6 years. He died at his own hand. He died by suicide, not by a hostile invader. But see, when it came to the French, when it came to guys like Dessalines, when it came to guys like Christophe, they already made up in their mind that we can't do anything with these guys. But the reason they were able to secure that infamous reparations debt is because they waited and bided their time until there was a friendly regime in power. And that friendly regime was the regime of President Jean-Pierre Boyer. He came to power in 1820 after the death of Christophe. And once Jean-Pierre Boyer came to power, he reversed basically everything that Christophe built. He abandoned the citadel, all construction over Christophe's monuments was ended. That's why they all fell into ruin. That's why when you go to the palace today, the palace is in ruins. The citadel is in ruins. It's because when Jean-Pierre Boyer came to power, not only did he agree to pay reparations to the French, but he destroyed everything Christophe built. The schools that Christophe established, he closed the damn schools. All the infrastructure that Christophe worked so hard to establish for us, he destroyed everything. He reversed everything. Even the cannons and the gunpowder and the military resources that Christophe left behind upon his death, he neglected everything. Because when it came to President Jean-Pierre Boyer, he was far more accommodating to the Western powers, especially the French, right? He was way more submissive to the Western powers. I mean, what can you expect? I mean, like I told you, this is a half-white son of a colonist. This man came out the nuts of a colonist. But unfortunately, the story of Christophe to me is probably the biggest tragedy of what happens when political continuity is not upheld. Because when you go to Haiti today, it's as if Christophe never even existed. The only proof we have of his reign is the palace that is currently in ruins and the citadel currently in ruins. And that's why I titled this video, Message to President ASSIMI GOITA. But really, I could have directed this video to all three leaders in the AES, because you have to understand, you don't want everything that you're working so hard to establish right now to simply be reversed and destroyed by the next guy coming right after you. That would be a tragedy, not only for you, but for all of us watching. Don't end up like us, right? Don't end up like the Haitians, right? The Haitians, we lost Christophe 20 years ago and we still haven't recovered. We lost Christophe over 200 years ago and we still have not recovered. Don't be like us, man. Don't be like us. That loss, we still haven't recovered from that loss damn near 2 centuries now. Don't be like us, bro. Don't be like us, man. As we can see, you guys are making some great strides moving forward, doing things that we haven't seen from black men in a very long time. So we want to keep that going, even after you guys are no longer in power. We want to continue seeing you guys modernizing the military, diversifying your partnerships, right? Asserting your sovereignty, reclaiming control over the critical minerals, right? Arresting the goddamn executives if they don't want to play ball, confiscating their assets if they don't want to play ball, right? In reality, a lot of the things you guys are doing in the modern day are things that Christophe did back in the day, right? Especially when it came to, seizing the uranium, seizing the gold, seizing their assets, confiscating their assets. I remember one of my favorite stories about Christophe. Take a look up on the screen. Back in 1811, American merchants found that Englishmen were enjoying a 50% reduction in duties. Nor did Christophe improve matters. In 1811, finding himself unable to recover large sums entrusted to the firm of Von Caff and Room of Baltimore for the purchase of goods, he seized property valued at about $125,000 from American traders in Haiti, and in answer to their protest, told them to obtain redress from the Baltimore firm if they were able. Thus, his American commerce dwindled. Now, in this scenario, right, Christophe felt cheated. He felt like he had entrusted this bank, this firm, with a large sum of money, this Western bank, and they ran off with his money, right? So in order to obtain compensation for his losses, he ended up confiscating property from American merchants in Haiti valued at about $125,000, which was a fortune at the time, because converted to modern day currency, that was millions of dollars. And when the American merchants tried to protest against the decision, Christophe basically told them, hey, take it up with your people down in Baltimore. Take it up with your folks down in Baltimore. They got my money. Have them give it to you, right? Take it up with your folks down back in America. Now, when I read back on that old story, it reminds me of what the military governments in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are doing in the modern day. They running down on the multinational corporations, right? They confiscating their assets. They confiscating the gold. They confiscating the uranium. And when I see that, that's the energy of Christophe 100%. Right. And of course, I'm not surprised, because these are all military men. As you know, Christophe was a military man. Yes, he was a diplomat. Yes, he was a head of state. Yes, he was a statesman. But he was a military man. As you can see, he dressed in his military outfit. Got the military boots, the military hat, the military coat. Been a military man his entire life. Keep in mind, Christophe was a child soldier in the French military, right? He was a child soldier. So Christophe was a military man his entire life. So it's no surprise there's similarities between Christophe and the modern military leaders we see in the Sahel right now, man. It's the same spirit. And yes, the regime under Dessalines, yes, the regime under Christophe would be classified as a military government. Yes, it was a government ruled by the military. It was ruled by the military chiefs. And it's so funny because in my video that I did about IBRAHIM TRAORE receiving $60 million to liberate the French spies, the French secret agents, the French intelligence agents, somebody had came into my comment section and also drew the comparison with Christophe, because as you already know, the French had did the same exact thing with Christophe back in 1814 when they had sent those spies over to his territory, when they sent those intelligence agents over to his territory. And what did Christophe do? Like I told you, Christophe arrested them and had them killed, right? This brother came into the comment section a couple days ago. He said this: not since the days of King Henry Christophe has the black government been strong enough, organized enough, and patient enough to outmaneuver a major European power like this. The DGSE agents, that's the French intelligence agents, had been told it's business as usual. turn up in the country, meet up with some traitors and maybe an investor or two, and simply overturn the government like they have done dozens of times before. Just like the French were very quiet after Leclerc's defeat, there'll be no more DGSC agents volunteering to go to the Sahel after seeing what these four went through. As the danger for Christophe came from Pichon in the south of Haiti, the danger for the AES will come from the agents in the neighboring countries. We need to keep a very close eye on what these agents get up to. But yeah, man, like I said, man, the overall theme of this video is political continuity, the importance of political continuity and what can happen when there's a break in the political continuity, right? As we see with the story of Christophe, right? We see what happens. Christophe spent his life building Haiti into a strong nation militarily, economically, and culturally, but all of it was reversed the moment that political continuity was broken. Everything that he worked for, everything that he built, the citadel, the schools, his military defenses, it was either abandoned or destroyed when Jean-Pierre Boyer came to power and decided to bow down to the foreign powers rather than build upon the previous legacy. And I want this video to serve as a warning for President ASSIMI GOITA, General of the Army, right? IBRAHIM TRAORE, General Tchiani, right? This is a long game that requires commitment across generations. We got to keep it going. We got to keep the fire burning long after you guys are gone. It should not end once the leader is no longer in power. That's the problem with black men. As soon as the leader is gone, the movement is gone. We have to make sure that the political continuity is never broken, right? We got to make sure there are safeguards in place to protect the progress being made, right? All the sacrifices, all the advancements, all the momentum. If the political continuity is broken, all of that will disappear overnight. The modernization of the military, the control over the critical minerals, the sovereignty of our airspace, the expulsion of the foreign militaries. All of it will mean nothing if the next leader comes in and hands it all back to the same powers that we just kicked out. That's exactly what happened to Christophe, man. As soon as Christophe died and that mixed race mulatto bastard, the son of the colonists, came to power with Jean-Pierre Boyer, everything Christophe built, it was as if it never existed. It was as if it never happened. So I just want to say, listen, keep building, fellas. Keep building. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't get sidetracked. Don't get sidetracked by these career politicians coming to embezzle the money, trying to call for democratic elections just because they want to get into power and jump back in bed with France. Because you know that's what's going to happen. You know that's exactly what's going to happen, right? You know the reason why all these dozens of political parties are clamoring for elections is because they're going to hand the country right back to France. First of all, you know it's some nonsense, because why are there dozens of political parties in the first place? Why is there so many political parties? God damn, so many of y'all want to come and steal the money. But anyways, man, just to summarize, like I said, the country is at war. If they're not going to ask Vladimir Zelensky to hold elections, don't come ask ASSIMI GOITA to hold elections. If you're not going to ask Benjamin Netanyahu to hand over power after damn near 20 years, don't come bother ASSIMI GOITA, who just got here yesterday. My man ASSIMI GOITA just the other day launched the announcement of the domestic military industrial complex, right? Domestic weapons manufacturing. And you talking about democratic election. Man, stop. We got things to do. We got things to do, man. Anyways, it's your boy Nevacarda Saleh back in the Billy SCD. Cash app in the description. Support the channel, man. Support the album. Peace.
Yeah, I'm focused on fortification. I'm trying to step out of the matrix. I'm finna be all in your playlist. The haters gon' look and amaze me. I'm taking my time and I'm patient. They tell me I make it look easy. I'm going and they never gon' reach me. I cut off my phone, I'm back on my zone. Yeah, I'm back on my own, the king of my castle and forging my own path. I'm back on the dawn, I know they be watching it lately. I'm pressing the gas. These niggas be clones, they selling they soul for currency. I be like, man, just leave me alone. Lil' mama, she look like a dancer. I'm back in my zone, I got hundreds and fifties, they treat me just like I'm a master. I'm back in the city, I'm feeling imperial, plotting on power expansion. I can't show no love, I got pain in my heart, but I hide it when I'm on the camera. I'm young and I'm raising the standard, and I don't be doing no features. These niggas be talking about killing and robbing, I'm steady relaxing and leisure. The spirit of kings, we never gon' die, we taking it back with the leaders. They came and invaded, the enemy raided and put all that shit in museums. Real talk, and I still can't believe it. I pull up and shine on them, I pull up and ride on them, I pull up and flex with the team, you know we gon' style on them. I'm cold like 7 degrees whenever I rhyme on them. This shit like COINTELPRO, my nigga they spine on us. Fuck how they feeling, I'm bossed up, enemy finna get tossed up. Come on, I'm blocking and buy it up. Back in the biz, I'm riding up. I'm ready for war and they hiding out. I told the creator I'm riding out. They up in the crib and they popping out. I'm close to the limit, I've been in route. Yeah. Weight on my shoulders, it feel like a boulder. Ghost written by the kings, I decoded like high priest. Certified, I'm rooted. I'ma get it till they tell me it's over. I'ma get it till I'm way up and noted. Meditated, so I'm closer to God. Pretty soon we gon' be on the top. Yeah, I'm focused on fortification. I'm trying to step out of the matrix. I'm finna be all in your playlist. The haters gon' look and amaze me. I'm taking my time and I'm patient. They tell me I make it look easy.